Okay, so I am actually on my way home from work. I had planned to film this clip this morning, but just was not in the mood. I just wanted to. Can't talk. I just wanted to give like a little bit of what a work day looks like for me. I was gonna film today and then also on one of the days that I work from home, just to kind of explain what that can look like. So I'm just talking about it in the car because I'm just not gonna film at work. Today was actually quite busy. I was all over campus today. We had a lot going on, so that was a little bit more interesting than sometimes my usual day. But my schedule right now is I have classes on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and on Wednesday I work from home because I also have an online class. Sometimes I have 2 online classes. It really just kind of depends semester by semester. So it is nice for me to have Fridays off. We don't really have a lot of classes on Fridays. So Monday I go in, I have office hours in the art studio and then a studio class. Those are like 3 hours long, so they fill up a lot more of my day than a regular class would. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays I have a lecture class in the morning, then a break in the middle for like office hours or lunch or both, and then a studio class each in those afternoons. So today I went in, did my lecture class from like 9:30 to 10:45. Then normally when I would have office hours, which no students ever come to my office hours, so I just like hang out in my office and grade or do stuff. We actually had a presentation at work today in the student center for, it's March, it's Women's History Month, and so the city actually recognized like 31, I think, like influential women, and so we had 4 of them come and do a panel and just kind of have a discussion. It was really fantastic, and I was really happy to be able to go to that. Then I had my studio class, and I actually had to dip out a little early because I had to go to another meeting that was about like curriculum changes. I'm trying to change some stuff with my classes in our course catalog, and so I just had to go be there, not to vote, I'm not on that committee, but just like in case people had questions or anything like that. So that's what a day looks like for me. I'm either like in class teaching or hanging out in my office, or I also have office hours in the studio sometimes because I'm always kind of just doing like maintenance, just like changing things up there. I've been doing a lot of work recently because we're having like a big art show for all the students next month, so I'm planning that. So that's what a going to work day looks like for me. And like I said, maybe next week or something I will do a little filming on one of my work from home days to kind of show you what that looks like too. Okay, so it's been quite a while actually since the last clip, but as promised, I am also filming on a day when I'm working from home. These days tend to look different from week to week. Usually I work on Wednesdays, but you are catching me in recovery from having my gallbladder removed. So last week and this week I temporarily moved my classes online and I'm just working from home. So I had quite a busy day today. I spent most of the morning answering emails and just sort of grading things from the previous week. I tend to, especially if we're doing online, give my students like at least a few days or until the end of the week, and then I grade the next week. I'm also attending / viewing some like professional development virtual lecture things. So it's after lunch. I'm just kind of spending the last few hours of the day going through that stuff, and then I'll be relaxing for the rest of the day because I'm still recovering. But so these days, like I said, they tend to look kind of different. Some days I will work for a while in the morning and then take a little break and come back. If I get everything that I need to done in the morning, I will just sort of like consider myself on call, and I check my email every hour or so. If no new alerts come through, I'll just double check it to make sure students don't need anything. And then I also have, sometimes we do scheduled office hours where I will just open a Zoom call, and if anyone wants to pop in and ask questions or get advising help, whatever, or they can kind of schedule them with me individually. So it really just kind of depends on how the week goes. But now I am just doing, writing up some stuff and watching those Zoom lectures. So that's what I'll be doing for the next hour or so, and then my day will be complete. Is it still gonna... Guys, I'm trying so hard with the lighting. I think it's fine. I do need, are these heavy enough to be a paperweight? Kinda. I really like having my little drawings all together in my sketchbook, and I can't bring myself to like tear things out. So I'm just kind of having like an artsy fartsy craftsy kind of day. How did I literally just showered and like didn't even run a brush through my hair and came in here and grabbed pencils out of my drawer, and I already have. Are you the culprit? Ew. Okay, this one has like sticky stuff on it. It's summer vacation, it's June now, so my work from home hours are pretty flexible. I'm teaching a couple of online classes, and so that mostly consists of just like a couple days a week I'm on the computer grading stuff, and the rest of the time I'm just like periodically checking and answering emails. So I have a lot of time for doing arts and crafts stuff, and video making. I have like too many ideas for videos, so there might be more of those happening this summer / around when this video comes out, because I just don't want to be booked up with my video schedule through like the next year. So there might be some more popping in besides the regular schedule. But I thought it would be fun to kind of just like sit and chat and watch me do something else besides drive or just look at you. And this is also a drawing I've been wanting to do for a little while. So the theme of this video, or the title, if that's what I end up calling it, says that I don't hate being disabled, and that is completely true. And the neighbors are having a blast on the other side of this wall. Good for them. I thought that would be kind of an interesting thing to chat about, because I feel like with currently, it's Pride Month right now, but July is actually Disability Pride Month, if you didn't know that. If you are a viewer of this channel, you probably know that that's why I like to do disability-themed videos in July, just because it's like Disability Pride Month / Disability Awareness Month, and I think a lot of what comes with that is people just sharing their stories of, you know, parts of the world that are parts of their lives that aren't truly accessible, or ways that things need to change. And I think a lot, like, obviously all of that is incredibly important. I am currently trying to help my work in that department, with just kind of like giving feedback on areas of some of the older buildings that like could use a little bit of help with accessibility, for physical stuff. And I am on my works like diversity committee as well, which handles all kinds of diversity. But I just wanted to kind of like bring that aspect to it as well. But I think like all of that can kind of have this sense of it like taking over people's lives. But like honestly, at least for me, obviously I'm speaking from my own experience. I am very fortunate in the fact that I am not, well, I don't even want to say that. I don't think people who are permanently wheelchair bound, that their lives are necessarily unfortunate. Like, is it nice that I have the ease of being able to walk around most of the time and I just use a wheelchair when I need to? Yeah, that's great. But being in a wheelchair doesn't make your life less than or any less great or less fulfilled. So I don't want to say it like that. It's like I said, this is just my own experience, and I don't want to put that on somebody who is permanently wheelchair bound. You would have to ask them how they feel about it. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, is like people, I think, sometimes have this perspective that like if you're disabled that there's something unfortunate about your life, and it's like that's really just, for me at least, like it's not that big of a deal. I mean, some days, yeah, it really sucks, but guess what? Everybody has days in their life that really suck. And it's, you know, you just kind of work around it. And this winter will be 10 years that I've been using a walking cane. I'm kind of in the process of possibly getting a new diagnosis. So I feel like everything I'll share more about that once I kind of figure out, like, find out the result of that. But if this new diagnosis is correct, I think the timeline of when my condition, so to speak, started is a lot, like, way earlier in my life, like when I was a kid. But it's been, what year is it? It's, let me do some math really quick. I started using a cane in the winter of 2013, but I started having troubles and being diagnosed with anything in 2011, 2012. I think 2012 is when I started going to the doctor, like specifically for joint pain and that kind of stuff. So it's been a very long time, was my point. And like occasionally people will ask me, like, do you even remember what it's like to not be dealing with that? And like, honestly, no. Like, I remember how many things I was able to do in a day. And I can kind of be like, wow. But like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I just, you know, you adjust and just like kind of make changes. I've always been a homebody, like my whole life, even like in high school. I would hang out with my friends like in the evening or like maybe one day over the weekend, but I also really enjoyed just like hanging out by myself at home. So that, like, that part of it isn't really that different. I've always loved like crafting and doing art, and just like hanging out on the couch is, I'm definitely an introvert in that way, and that's how I recharge, is like alone time, just chilling. So there's just like a little bit more of that. But I think a lot of things, honestly, have like, it's changed the way that I perceive a lot of things. Like the little speech I gave about, you know, not viewing everyone who's disabled as unfortunate. Like, yeah, maybe something unfortunate happened to them, but that doesn't make their entire life unfortunate. And I just feel like I have more empathy for people in general. You know, I like when someone in my family is like, oh, you know, I cracked my neck, or, you know, oh, I threw out my back or something. Like, I haven't specifically done those things, but like, I know what intense body pain feels like, and so I can empathize with that, and that, you know, makes me a little bit more sympathetic for them. And, you know, I know that people have like different limitations and perspectives, and I think that being disabled has kind of given me that. And I know a lot of people personally that struggle with like not knowing their body. I've talked about it a few times recently, and I promise eventually I'll stop talking about it. It's also kind of like why I'm doing this drawing, but I had my gallbladder removed recently, and I knew right away that that pain was different because I have digestive issues, and so I know all the different types of stomach pain that my body has, and so when something is different, I'm aware of it immediately. And like, I did wait a little bit to go to the doctor because I just kind of wanted to like keep an eye on it and see, but I only waited like a week and a half, and then I was just like, no, this is something else, time to go to the doctor. And I think a lot of people struggle with knowing that, and I have no choice but to be really connected with my body. And when I wake up in the morning and, you know, something doesn't feel right, I know how to adjust what I am doing for the day or how I move through the day to kind of help that out. And I really like that feeling. I like that I know my body really, really well. I know a lot of people that I see online, it's helpful for them to, like the Spoonie community, shout out if you're a Spoonie member. I don't really refer to that, that like system or that ideology, just like calling it an ideology sounds like a lot, but that just doesn't really work for me. I think the idea is like that you have like a certain amount of like spoons through the day of like your energy cup, and every activity that you do takes a certain amount of spoons. And so sometimes you have to pick like, okay, do I do showering? That might be a 3-spoon activity, or do I do something else instead? And just for me, because my energy level is so different from day to day, it really just like depends. So that just doesn't work for me, because some days I could have 50 spoons and some days I could have 5 spoons, and I don't usually know until I've started doing things for the day. So for me, it's just about like making adjustments. If I want to go like run a bunch of errands one day, it's kind of just like I leave the house and I go do assess like what's the most important, what needs to get done. That's what I do first. I kind of see what my energy levels are like, and sometimes I can go to 4 or 5 locations and do a lot of things, and sometimes I can only do 2, or sometimes I'm really, really tired after 1. And I talked before about how I think having the wheelchair has been really helpful the few times I've been able to use it. I haven't been able to a lot yet because I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars on like a motorized one. The one I have right now, my manual one, is fairly heavy, so I am working on trying to lift weights to like get stronger so that I'm able to lift it in and out of our car. Because right now, if I want to go somewhere but I want to use the chair, that kind of depends on like my partner's work schedule. And if he's able to come with me or just like doing whatever he's doing, which he's always happy to help, which is really nice, obviously, but but yeah, it just kind of depends. And like a motorized one would be even heavier, so that's just like not feasible for me. But I also have not, like I said, I'm trying to help with some stuff at work, so I have not used it at work yet, but I'm looking forward to when that becomes an option, because
think that will be really nice and helpful and save me a few days a year of having to take sick leave because I'm not like walking around very well that day. Yeah, so being disabled made me really aware of my body. Definitely made me more empathetic towards people and just like more aware of what other people are going through in general. If you're wondering why I'm drawing a couch or any of that stuff, I'll link a video I made. I actually did my first performance art piece a few months ago that I filmed and like voiceover kind of explaining some stuff about my art. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. But yeah, that's actually been something I really enjoy as like part of my weekly workout routine. And that's the thing, it all just takes adjusting, and that's something I've become really good at. I've always been like a planner and a scheduler, and I still am to a certain degree, but I have to be more flexible. Like I said, if I have plans to go do XYZ that day, I have to know somewhere in the back of my mind that maybe not all of those will work out. And so I just prioritize and move things around. And I've become a lot better at that because of that, because of my situation, and just like being more flexible and being more like open with people about what I need. I think a lot of people, myself included in the past, kind of struggle with like asking people for help. It's just like, it was a stupid like pride thing with me for a really long time. And I had a lot of trouble with like feeling like asking people for help like meant I was weak, which is just like, I mean, not that like feelings are invalid or anything like that, but that was not, that wasn't it. And that was something I really kind of had to like work through. I still don't like to ask for help just because I like to take care of things myself, and I don't know. I like feeling the accomplishment of being able to do things myself, I think. But I know that's a problem for a lot of people, that just asking for help is hard. And so I've had to get a lot better at that and like get better at trusting people. I really have fantastic, supportive like friends and colleagues at my new job that I feel really like comfortable talking to them about this stuff, and just kind of like setting boundaries, and like they're always super understanding. And that was something I always like had a fear of getting like a quote unquote real job or getting a full-time job, was that like people wouldn't get that, like that I had boundaries and what have you. But it's been actually really great, and something part of kind of why I wanted to even bring this whole idea up about like it not being a problem in being disabled is, I think one of the really fantastic things about moving here to Tennessee and getting this job and like having these fantastic people around me is that I'm trying to think of how to say this. None of the people here knew me before I was disabled, except my partner, obviously. Which, like, he's around me all the time, so he gets it. But I think if you know someone who's disabled, you might be familiar with this. I think it is hard for people sometimes to not see that as something unfortunate, and I really don't like to talk about it on social media where like my family or people that knew me before are gonna see, because I feel like it becomes a big deal. Or like, even if you think you're being helpful, if I say something about like, oh, like going to this doctor, like, oh, and then people make comments like, oh, hate this for you, but like glad this is helping, or you know, just something like that. And it's just kind of like, but why? Like, it's been like 10 years, guys. Like, you don't have to hate this for me anymore. Like, I don't hate it for me. Like, it's really just like whatever. It's just my life. And that has honestly just been, that's part of what's made it so like easy with my friends and coworkers, is it's like, it's literally just like not a big deal. I felt like I could be really open with them fairly quickly about my medical stuff, which I've got, like, not, obviously not like super personal stuff, that, you know, the like really like intimate details of whatever, you know, I just discuss with like my friends or whatever if it comes up. But like, just, you know, being like, hey, I have fibromyalgia, or just, you know, whatever that may be wrong or changing, we'll see. But just, you know, feeling like I'm able to talk about it, it was super easy, and I was able to do that quickly because it was literally like, they just treated me like a person and not like a medical patient, and they didn't feel bad for me or like pity me, or if they did, they didn't show it, which was awesome. And I think sometimes that is like really icky. It gives me the ick when I can tell that people are having pity for me, or when people are just like, oh, you're so brave, and like the whole like inspiration porn, or when people are like, oh, you know, that breaks my heart for you, and I'm just like, does it? You can just kind of keep that to yourself, maybe. I don't know. It's just, hopefully that's relatable and not like, I try to not be snotty to people about it, because it's like, I get it, but you don't have to share that with me if that's how you're feeling. Like, maybe just keep that to yourself or work that out for yourself. But that's part of what I try to put out there, is like, if you put out there that it's not that big of a deal, people will learn that it doesn't have to be that big of a deal. I think one of the biggest things that is maybe a little cheesy about being disabled is like, I talk a lot, and I project really well and have a very loud voice, and especially now that I am in a position as a professor that I can speak out for other disabled employees and students especially. That's a huge for me. I have a really loud voice that I am able to use, and that is kind of great. I was very scared of that for a really long time. I did not like the idea of being the quote-unquote poster child for disability in like any workplace situation. A lot of that was because I think sometimes there can be this like, are you disabled enough sort of topic, which like that's a whole issue. But like people that think that honestly are just like being ignorant. And if you're able to, have a civilized conversation with them about it, then you should. But, I feel as I'm getting older a lot more like confident in myself, and part of that comes from like feeling secure and really supported at work and at home, obviously, which I didn't have for a really long time. But just because I can't speak for every single person in the disabled community doesn't mean that I can't speak. And I actually just read really recently a book by Judy Heumann, which if you don't know who she is, you should. she was a huge, huge, huge disability rights advocate in the country, but like starting in New York in the 70s. And she just tells like amazing stories about what her life was like being wheelchair bound from polio, I believe, as a child, and just like what she had to deal with. And she was just so, I use the word feisty because that's what she used. I actually made a t-shirt, and I'll show those after this clip probably, but I have designed some like disability advocacy artworks that you can actually get printed on my site. But she has this quote about how she hopes that the feisty disabled people like get together and change the world, and so I made a t-shirt that says feisty disabled person on it. It just makes me feel really like strong and powerful, and like she was just such a total badass. She died like just this last year, but she was just like really fantastic. You can find, like, I think she did a couple of TED Talks, but you can find her writings and her interviews and stuff everywhere online. So she is a very cool person to look at. But I don't know, she's very inspiring by the work she did, not by the nature of just being someone who's disabled. I think that's just like anybody else, any sort of like pride or awareness is just about like, we just want to exist like everybody else and trying to, you know, like level the playing field and just point things out where things in the world maybe aren't as equal as they should be. And I think it's really important that I can use my voice in that way to help point those things out. Like I said, especially for students. So while I'm finishing this up, I guess I can just like pop up some pictures. I don't really need to do a separate clip for it, but this is not like a merch thing. I literally just made some designs over the last couple of years, and I just kept getting more ideas. They're not all like disability advocacy stuff. Some of it I think really could apply to anybody, but I made some shirt designs, sticker designs, whatever, that are on Threadless. I have a shop page, which I will link. You can get them printed like literally on, I think they have everything you could possibly imagine, from like water bottles and notebooks to like yoga mats and mugs and all different kinds of shirts. I will pop up some photos of the designs. If you just want to go check it out, I would really appreciate that. Not like, you don't have, no pressure, you certainly don't need to buy anything. But yeah, if you're interested, if you wouldn't mind checking it out, I would appreciate that. If you're interested in like the world's briefest definition, the world's briefest sort of description of the idea behind this sketch, if you watched my video where I was crocheting and talking about when I had my gallbladder surgery, I just felt that the bedside manner wasn't great, and there was a lot of sort of like making me feel like I was being a baby. Afterwards, it was a whole thing. It was quite traumatic, and honestly, like after I started to do this sketch on my tablet. I'm trying to get better at tablet drawing. It sort of like rehashed it all in my brain, but I've been trying to just like talk it out, draw it out, so it can leave my mind. It was a pretty shitty experience actually, but I was like shaking and crying and hyperventilating without any pain medicine after waking up from having 4 holes in my stomach glued shut. And one of the nurses said this to me. Is that how you spell tolerance? I'm a terrible speller. She said, "Are you sure you don't just have a low pain tolerance?" In the middle of that, which, even if that was a really important question, that was not the moment. So, yes, that is how you spell tolerance. Look at me. So yeah, that's my little drawing. It's a couch that's been slashed open and has its stuffing coming out, and somebody's asking in that. That's how I like to handle all situations like that, is with humor. It's a defense mechanism, but also this drawing can make me laugh. And so when I think about it, I can think about this instead, and it can be healing and wonderful. All right, so that's that. This has been a couple days in the life. Please go take a look at my artwork / shirt designs that are available for sale if you want, but if not, just to peruse. Thank you so much for watching this one. If you like this video and you want to see more from me, please consider subscribing. I post videos 2 to 3 times a month. Thanks so much for watching this one, and I'll see you next time. Happy Disability Pride!